Welcome to the Wisconsin Music Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Wisconsin Music Podcast, where we amplify Wisconsin music and we do a deep dive into the stories and sounds that shape the music world around us. I'm your host, Zach Fell, and today we have the pleasure of hosting Michael Kessler, a seasoned musician whose journey began at the tender age of 11, and over the past 25 years, Michael has refined his guitar skills and made significant strides in the music industry. Michael's band American Folk, which ran from 2006 to 2014, was born from a friendship formed at Gateway Technical College with Adam Lance. This partnership, along with TJ Levesque, laid the foundation for a band that resonated with many. Beyond his musical endeavors, Michael is also a principal in his family's business, Kessler Clock Company, where he is a horologist for over 2 decades. Maybe he'll let us know what that really means. In 2023, Michael embarked on a new journey to achieve his lifelong dream, recording and releasing a solo album. The result, Gravel Road, was produced in collaboration with Milwaukee's renowned Gary Tannen, past guest here on the podcast. This album, primarily a solo project with guest musicians featuring contributions from Georgia Ray on fiddle and Chicken Wire Empire's Ernst and Joe. Gravel Road showcases Michael's versatility, blending bluegrass, country, rock, funk, and blues. The album includes covers of songs by Bob Dylan, Bill Monroe, Ralph Stanley, Roy Buchanan, and even Radiohead, alongside original tracks. Michael's vocals, compared to They Might Be Giants, John Lindell, add an honest and unpretentious touch to the record. Join us as we explore Michael Kessler's musical journey, the making of Gravel Road, and his vision for the future of acoustic music. So, Michael, welcome to the Wisconsin Music Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So, I kind of gave your little bit of your music origin story in the intro there, but why don't we hear from you yourself? Why don't you give us your emotional ride through this for the last 25 years?
Well, I guess I could credit the band Green Day to wanting to get into learning how to play guitar. So that's at 11, I got my first guitar and I kind of learned the basics, regular chords. And, eventually my tastes moved more towards, the Grateful Dead and, kind of jam band music. And during about that time is when I met Adam, and we formed a band called American Folk, and it was more of a folk band, but over the years it kind of moved more towards bluegrass. Okay. As we acquired a banjo player and a fiddle player. So that was a lot of fun. We did that. I was in the band from 2007 to 2014, and kind of took a hiatus for a little while, not even picking it up at home, for 3-4 years. And I got into it by actually my old banjo player got me to come out and start playing. And we formed a band briefly called Paddlefoot with Mike McCann in Twin Lakes. And that only lasted about a year, but I credit him for getting me out. He unfortunately passed away last almost a year and a half now, I think, close to a year. So I always like to give him a shout out every chance I get. His name is Jim Moses.
Okay.
And he was just the rock of any band he was in. The pleasure of knowing him was great. So, but now I'm, I just wanted to see if I could see what like the rates were for like studio time and stuff like that. And I saw Gary had the best reviews, Gary Tannen, and I called him first. And I made the right choice by calling him first. And, he's absolutely terrific and has been as much as I thought before I got into the studio, how much I thought I knew about music. It takes someone like Gary to humble you.
Yeah.
So
what certain aspects of it that kind of humbled you through this recording process?
Well, like little nuances that you wouldn't think of, like, like sometimes it's hard for a guitar player to hold back. Sometimes,
Yeah.
especially early, like sometimes you want to go full on early, and he's like, you gotta, ease into it. We got a lot of time. You know, they audience wants to hear you build up that solo. It shows maturity, and that really blew my mind. That in itself. But
Yeah.
like so many other little things, he taught me a lot about my voice and singing as well. Just little things like, as like more. I would, in the past, I would always go more towards the high, and now I'm kind of singing more lower octave. I don't know what you call that, lower octave or whatever. And has improved. In my opinion, has improved. So, man, Gary, I mean, he's just been in the business for almost 5 decades now, and
Yeah.
he just knows everything. And you know, things that you wouldn't even think of. You come out of that whole experience just with a vast knowledge of what it's like to record an album.
Yes, exactly. So when did you finish this album? When did it come out?
Came out in April of this year. We finished it late last year, and it took a little while to get mastered and all that.
So let's talk about the songs that you chose to put on this album. You have multiple covers, you have some originals on here. So what made you decide what covers to basically cover, and how did the songs that are original, that are written by you, kind of flow through these covers that you picked?
Well, actually, they're all covers. Yeah, I'm horrible at writing original music. To me, yeah, I don't know. It's probably in my head. Like you write a song, and then like the next day you look at it and you're like, oh God, what's. But so the covers that I picked, I knew I had the nucleus of like Roanoke, Ashagon Farewell, and Cherokee Shuffle. I really wanted to do those 3, which are the more, well, 2 of them are very happy songs, and one's kind of a dramatic march almost.
Okay.
And I just, for probably a couple decades, maybe a little less than a couple decades, but just I've been in love with those songs, and I always wanted to. I recorded a couple of them like with GarageBand, and they turned out pretty good. So I wanted to do like a real recording, and it turned out great. Also, another like one of my biggest influences is Bob Dylan and the band, especially the band.
Yeah.
And I drew a lot of inspiration from like the bootleg series and the basement tapes that they did, and kind of you ain't going nowhere, and other ones, Ain't No More King.
Mm-hmm.
Those 2 are I've listened to hundreds of times probably, and I don't know what it is about those recordings, but it's just like they're just, I think they're better than some of them are better than what they put on the original album. And so I drew a lot of inspiration from those guys. Roy Buchanan, man, when I discovered Roy Buchanan, boy, it really, I was just blown away, just absolutely blown away.
By his singing, by his singing, by his playing, or the whole thing?
Well, both, but mostly his guitar playing.
Okay.
He is, as far as blues goes, as far as like, I think he's in the top 20 of Rolling Stone's greatest guitar players.
That would not surprise me. Yeah.
He's easily, in my opinion, top 5. And it's just like a kind of different kind of blues. Like a lot of people, I ask people like, hey, you like the blues? And they go, it's kind of boring and blah.
Mm-hmm.
But man, when you find the right person that can really, really play, it is really, I just fell in love with the blues.
Yeah.
And Roy Buchanan, especially, but also Mike Bloomfield. I love Paul Butterfield Band.
Yeah.
All those, it's just, it was awesome. Discovering a new type of music, like a love for a new type of music late in life. Like I still get goosebumps just thinking about these guys. Nick Gravenitis, Johnny Winter, Freddie King, it's
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. It's just like even though these musicians have been around for a while, it's not like you've known about them. You know, some people have, but sometimes you've never heard these people until all of a sudden you come across them, and it's like, where has this person been my whole life?
Yeah. Yep.
Fantastic.
And I give credit to Martin Scorsese, because the first time I heard "Sweet Dreams" by Roy Buchanan was at the end of the movie The Departed, and as that rat is going past on the balcony,
right,
and then that song comes in, and man, the first time I heard that, I'm like, who the hell is that? And I looked him up, and that's how I discovered Roy Buchanan. And I discovered a lot of musicians from movies, like Shuggy Otis. I discovered him from the movie Dallas Buyers Club.
Okay.
I heard that song, and I had to look it up, and now I'm a huge Shuggy Otis fan. It's sometimes it's funny. This has been a really tough week for a lot of people, and it's kind of seems silly sometimes just talking about this, but it's when I need to escape, I always turn to music, and
yeah,
that's my in the past week, one of my driving forces is it helps me escape, and if I could help other people escape too, that's awesome. And I'm gonna try to I'm gonna chase that feeling.
Right, exactly. There's a lot of people that need some type of art form to get them through some tough times, and yeah, definitely
cope. Mm-hmm.
Have you been able to go and play out yet?
Yeah. Last week I played a show at Summerfest. And
how did that go?
Oh, it was awesome. It was great. We sounded really good. The guys I hired for it, we're now really tight, and we're all practicing together, and we now have a nucleus of players, and now we're just kind of keeping a ear out for like a banjo player, fiddle player, mandolin player. For I'm probably gonna have a couple bands, bluegrass band and a blues band.
Okay.
But it's awesome, because it not only did the show turn out great. We now have, like I said, a nucleus of guys that I can start. It's really, really hard getting a band together and having it stay together.
Yep.
And you could go, you think you're doing good, and 5 years goes by, and then you're back to square one because everyone quit,
Right.
It's almost like the record companies, I don't know if they ever do this, but like if they find certain people and put them all together in a band, it's almost like, to really be successful in a type of music like this. Anyway, everything's really exciting, and we're playing the show this coming September 7th at the Lily Lake Resort in Burlington.
Okay.
And it's going to be called the Dirty Hoedown. We do it every year, and we've been doing it since 2008. And it's like a hoedown, 4 bands outside, 1 late night band inside, and that will be showcasing more of a bluegrass side of the band.
Do you know who's going to be playing at it besides?
Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't.
It's okay.
Forgetting to mention the guys. So Paul Aceto is he's our bass player. His son plays drums for us now.
Okay.
Eric Nelson, who I go way back with, he's on rhythm guitar, me on guitar, and every once in a while we have a guy named Mikey Giron playing fiddle, and he played fiddle for us at the Summerfest show, and he was absolutely terrific, true professional, just one of those guys that can just show up and play.
Nice.
So I'm hoping I'll keep him in the loop, but he lives in Chicago, and it's kind of hard for him to get up here, in Burlington. Burlington's about an hour and a half drive from Chicago.
Yeah. And that's like that's kind of like, I would say, just southwest of Milwaukee, correct?
Yeah. So in between Milwaukee and Chicago, in between obviously Milwaukee, Kenosha, Racine area.
Right. Excellent. And then let's talk a little bit more about your recording here. So kind of let the audience kind of like take them through the beginning till the release. I mean, I know you kind of talked a little bit about working with Gary, and you've talked about the songs that you picked and why you picked them. But when you actually had to go to the studio and I know he talked a little bit about your singing and slowing down, building up your solos and things of that nature. But the actual process of like sitting down in front of a microphone and the red light goes on and you're about to record, kind of let the audience kind of know how that went for you.
Very humbling, and having to sit back and listen to what you just recorded, and a lot of times just in horror, like, do I really sound like that? And I going into the album, I had about at least 10 straight bluegrass songs I wanted to do, singing songs, and I'm not that strong of a singer, and I kind of like going through the first few, I kind of saw the way things were going, and I had, decided I had to do something different. I talked to Gary, and I was kind of afraid to broach the subject with Gary, because like we had this vision, for the album, and especially he had his vision for the album too. And I'm like, I don't think this is where, and he's like, oh, no, yeah, go ahead. You want to play more guitar parts with electric guitar? Go ahead. And it was just like such a relief. And so I cut a good 60, probably 75% of the songs, and went in other directions. Roy Buchanan direction.
Right.
And it was just again, like, just I went in there thinking I was like, this is gonna be easy. I'm gonna plow through these songs, and it took like 7-8 months to record. Yeah. And part of the reason is because, like, we both work. It's not like I could just take off work and record. So it took a while because of that too, but it went in probably 3 different directions, maybe, the whole process from, oh boy, I think we got to go a different direction. And then once we got to that direction, sprinkling it with songs that kind of completed the album. And we had to cut a lot of, we had to cut some songs too, which kind of sucked, but I understand why we did, because it didn't really fit the album when you sat down and listened to all the songs.
Right.
So a lot of little things like that you don't think that you'll run into your first time, but now, for the next time, I know what to expect. I know it's probably going to be songs that we're going to have to cut on the album, whether or not they just don't sound good, it didn't record well, or it just doesn't fit the album.
Right.
Stuff like that. And, I'm very, very happy with the end product. Big part of that is Gary. Gary is just a master at his craft, sound engineer, producer, mix. Just he does every mastering, and he really. I couldn't have picked a better guy for the job.
Yeah, I totally. Yeah, I've worked with him in the past, and yeah, he does what he does is phenomenal. But like the old saying says, you can't polish a turd, so you have to have good stuff for him to work with. So obviously, it's not like you went in there with, way out of tune singing, and you couldn't tune your guitar, and you didn't know how to, play or anything. You had the good foundation, and then he was able to add the little sparkle on top of it, basically. Yeah,
he made me better.
And that's what you want from a producer. That's why you hire them, is to push you and to get the best performance out of you possible in the amount of time that you are able to, put into the project.
Yeah. And a big thing is being open-minded and trusting him when you're not sure but he knows because he's been doing this and he knows how it's going to sound. And, you know, I can't wait to work with him again. He's the man.
Yep.
Gary
Definitely.
Tannen. Shout out to Gary Tannen. You guys are looking for to record an album. He's your guy.
Now,
reasonably priced too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, in the intro, I also add a little bit in there that you're a principal at the Kessler Clock Company. Now, for me, the word principal to me, since I'm a school teacher, I know what a principal is. Is that kind of the same thing at the clock company, or is that a different role?
Well, I think it was just a term of term of endearment, or a term. Really, it's I worked with my dad. I was apprentice with my dad for 12, 13 years. It was time for me to go on my own. I did, but I had to change the name of I didn't technically take over the business. I had to change the name because we had two different businesses going on. My dad's passed now, so it's just me, and I'm in Burlington, Wisconsin. I live in Burlington, and our store was always kind of out in the Kenosha area, and that was kind of our territory.
Okay.
But when it was time for me to go on my own, I wanted to pick Burlington because I was sick of the commute.
Gotcha.
But no, yeah. So I've been almost 2 decades now. I've been doing clock repair. I have my my own business downtown Burlington. It's called Kessler's Clock Company. I fix everything from grandfather clocks, wall clocks, man clocks, cuckoos. Basically, I fix everything except for watches, anniversary clocks, and if a clock can be fixed, I can fix it. There's a lot of clocks that were made to not be fixed.
Gotcha.
Made to be throwaways once they die.
Gotcha. So do you see any similarities between playing music and working on clocks?
Well, I do. I mean, it's something that, I'm a big believer that you should never be satisfied with your craft. You have to always push yourself to be better. And same goes with guitar playing, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And you cannot be complacent and content with, oh yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. I always want to study the best and learn from the best, like Roy Buchanan, Mike Bloomfield. And yeah, and it the same thing goes with clocks. I studied from the best. My dad was the best, just knew everything, knew how to troubleshoot any issue, pass that along to me. And, one correlation too, I take from the two, guitar and clock repair, is that it's timeless. Both of them are timeless, and you can't really pin down an inventor of either, right. I don't think anyone knows who invented the guitar. I know that, nobody really knows. There's no, Mr. Clock, Edward James Clock the Third. So in those two regards, that's it's very, very interesting to me. It's just it's amazing is that how a lot of times we don't give early man enough credit for what we were able to do back then. Yes. To be able to build a clock movement, which has gears, and each gear has to mesh correctly with the next one, and you have to make the teeth, and you have to put them on the shaft, and then you have to drill out the holes in the plate, and you have to be a mathematical whiz to yes. be able to not only have the understanding of what time should be, you have to, in every movement, the timing of the movement all depends on, okay, it's got to have a certain amount of gears in this amount of space. Otherwise it's going to run way too fast or way too slow. And there's no way to get it timed correctly. Right. Yeah. So to be able to do that on top of early man's knowledge of how long a year is, back then, the study of astrology, and right, it's timeless, and it's just it's again very humbling, and it's definitely, if you're looking for something greater than yourself, I have two examples of like how amazing that we were able to, especially early man, create the clock and the guitar, any musical instrument.
Yes,
really.
Right. Now, getting back to your songs, well, if we're going to put like a few on the podcast for the listeners to kind of get a taste of your new album, like what songs would you like them to hear?
Definitely Roanoke. That's a really upbeat song. Bill Monroe song. He might be spinning in his grave because there's a drum track on it. So Roanoke.
Hey, Wisconsin Music Podcast listeners. Are you looking to elevate your music with a personal touch? Let me introduce you to ZTF Studio, where your sound finds its true home. At ZTF Studio, we create more than just great recordings. We create an experience. Our cozy, home-based studio in Southeast Wisconsin is designed to make you feel comfortable and inspired. Imagine walking into a space where your music is treated with the same care and passion you put into it. With over 20 years of experience, we know how to bring out the best in your sound. Whether you're a solo artist or a full band, you'll get personalized attention and expert guidance every step of the way. We blend technical expertise with a warm, welcoming vibe to make your recording sessions enjoyable and productive. So, come on in, grab a cup of coffee, and let's make your next crowd pleaser together. Visit ztfstudio.com to book a conversation with Zach about your vision for your next project. ZTF Studio, where your sound feels at home. Now, back to our amazing guest.
Cherokee Shuffle, which is another very happy song. and Ashigan Farewell, which is the march. Those are the three I'm the most proud of, and I think that'll age the best. There's a couple songs on there that I can already tell that are not going to age well. But that's, hindsight's 2020. So
yeah,
you learn.
Yep, you learn. You learn from, they say, you don't learn from success, you learn from your failures.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm a big believer in that. And how you handle failure is what makes you, I think,
better.
Define who you are is how you handle failure.
Yes, exactly. If you can't handle the failure, then you need to, take a different perspective on it and go, you need to grow from that, not just, shelter away from it. Absolutely. Yeah. If you could go back 20 years to your younger self, what advice would you give yourself?
Study harder in school. get into college. Well, you know, with student loan prices, maybe I lucked out, but definitely wish I would have studied more. You know, so I wouldn't be fixing clocks for a living.
Yeah.
But I think you mean musically.
Yes.
I probably, I mean, I love the Grateful Dead and all, and I credit a lot of my learning of guitar by the Dead. When I was first learning guitar, I'd know the basic chords, and then I'd pick out a few Dead songs I wanted to learn, and I would have to learn a few new chords, and that just took me years later. It just eventually I knew all the chords.
Nice.
And I love Grateful Dead, but I wish I would have spent more time. I was kind of a Grateful Dead isolationist for a while, and I think that stunted me.
Gotcha.
And, you have, I might get in trouble for this, but, you have to listen to more than just Fish and the Grateful Dead.
Yes. You have to expand your horizons.
Yeah. And people that are just, those are there too. It's like, all right, whatever floats your boat, but
right.
You're not, not expanding your horizons at all.
Right. So where can the listeners go and check you out online?
Mm-hmm. So I'm on Spotify. So it's Michael Kessler, Gravel Road. I'm on Spotify, Pandora, YouTube Music, Apple Music. I'm on all the socials, basically.
Okay.
I think there's a few I'm leaving out, but.
And I'll put that in the show notes so people can just click on that. Do you have like a link tree, or you just have to go and find you on all the different platforms?
Yeah. No, I don't have a link tree.
Okay.
I just discovered what that was yesterday.
Okay.
I think I'm going to, but
okay. Once you get that, just send that to me, and then I can put that in the show notes.
Sure.
Okay. Any last words you'd like the listeners to know before I let you go?
No, just thanks. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Thanks for having me. And I hope you guys take some time and go to Spotify or Pandora and check out the album. That'd be awesome. Michael Kessler, Gravel Road. Much obliged. I just created a band name finally.
Okay.
So now our band name is called Moon Posse, and I just created a Facebook page for it 2 days ago.
Okay.
So, I've never was able to find a good band. I'm terrible at coming up with band names, and I just came up with it last week, and it only took me 25 years, but I came up with one, and I think it's not great, but it's decent. I think that's about as good as I'm going to get.
Blue Moon is a well-known phrase, so yeah, that should work out pretty well for you.
Yeah, I attribute that. First of all, it's got like multiple meanings, which is cool, but the reason I chose Blue Moon is it was kind of a nod to Bill Monroe, just like just a respect thing,
Excellent. I think there's even a beer called Blue Moon or something. You can start, getting in contact with them and maybe get some sponsorship or something.
Yeah, I know. I should.
Well, Michael, thank you so much for being on the Wisconsin Music Podcast. It was great hearing about your adventures through music, with Gary and all these great musicians that you have covered on this album. Listeners, go and check this out. It's a great nod to all these great musicians that he has covered. So, Michael, thanks again for being on the Wisconsin Music Podcast.
Yep. Thank you.
Well, thanks again for tuning in to another episode of the Wisconsin Music Podcast. Once again, I'm Zach Fell, your host and creator of the Wisconsin Music Podcast, where I love to amplify the great sounds coming out of the Wisconsin state. We have great talent here, great support, great listeners. Thanks to Fox Cities Indie Radio for syndicating this on Thursdays and Sundays, along with their other great programming. So make sure you check out the Fox Cities Indie Radio. Thanks again to Michael Kessler for being on the Wisconsin Music Podcast. Actually, This was recorded a few months ago, and he just contacted me. He was recommended by Gary Tannen to come down to my recording studio, ZTF Studio, to come and work on his newest album. So I'm looking forward to doing that with Michael. So go and check out him on his website, his Facebook page, and go check them out live. For those of you who are new to our show, the Wisconsin Music Podcast is dedicated to showcasing the incredible talent of Wisconsin-based musicians and the thriving local music community. Our episodes drop every Tuesday on all streaming platforms and YouTube. Additionally, you can catch our episodes on Fox Cities Indie Radio every Thursday at 6 p.m. and Sunday at 3 p.m. If you'd like to be on the show, just go to wisconsinmusicpodcast.com, fill out the guest request form up at the top, ask for your email and your name, and then I'll send you an auto email asking you for more information. If you are enjoying these episodes, please consider donating to the Wisconsin Music Podcast. Donations help pay for the website and putting the podcast up on streaming services, and also getting our name out there to all Wisconsinites and others that are interested in our great music here in Wisconsin. Donations are secured through PayPal and Stripe. All you have to do is go to the website and click on Donate to WMP. You can also head over to our Instagram and Facebook pages and like us there. Leave some comments. Also go to the podcast review section of your podcast player and leave a 5-star review. Would be great. You can also head over to YouTube and watch the interviews and leave comments there as well. Have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week with another fantastic episode on the Wisconsin Music Podcast.